Okay, so in the first part of the video, what we was doing is working on this profile. The goal being effectively to go from that profile and then use that profile to create this revolved shape, okay, which gives us the basis of the actual mug, okay. So what we're going to do in this part is we're going to create this revolve, okay, and we're going to move on and we're going to add a shell of the top of the shape like this, shell it out so that it's a hollow in terms of the mug, and then we're going to be moving on to the handle for the next part of the video. Okay, so going back to my sketch, we just created this sketch. Now one thing that I want to be mindful about at this point, I've deliberately placed an error into this sketch, and that was this revolve by leaving this as a construction line here. Okay, now the reason why I've put this in is a frequent thing that I see students doing is they work from a profile like this and they move on to an extrusion or a revolve or any of these sort of 2D to 3D tools, and when they move on to this thing they kind of maybe click onto the axis and choose the axis like this, and then they wonder why it comes up red like this, and if they click OK it comes out with no actual solid object. The reason being is because this is not a completed profile, and it's because of this construction line here. Okay, now if we go back into the sketch, this is something you really have to look at when you're working on sketches. If you find that you have a sketch where you have a line like this and it's not a solid line as it should be, or you have either a break in the line or a line coming across like this, break in the profile, the computer or Inventor in this particular case, it can understand this as a completed profile, so it won't be able to turn the 2D profile into a 3D sketch. Okay, so it's something to really look for in your drawings, and if you find that something's not working, if you're trying to extrude or revolve or something like this, then look for breaks in the profile, look for overlapping lines, and look for lines that are not actual solid lines. They've been used as construction lines or something like this. So we're going to move on and we're going to revolve this, and we're going to shell out the top of the shape as well to get us to this point where we've got kind of our basic mug shape there. So we go to the Revolve tool at the top like this, and it's going to ask us to select the profile. So if I hover over this, you can see it's grey, so it means that there is a profile there, and it will turn blue as I click it to indicate that I actually have a valid profile that can be revolved. The next thing I'm going to do is click where it says axis like this. Make sure this is highlighted, another little error that seems to crop up a lot where people are wondering why they can't select certain elements of the drawing, and then clearly look for that axis. It will highlight on the sketch and click. It will give you a preview of what's going on like that, so that's the revolve of that profile. I'm happy with that, so I'm going to click OK, and there we go. We've got the revolve shape with that indentation nicely placed in the bottom. Now the next thing we're going to do with this to complete the sort of basics of the mug, okay, is I'm going to shell out the top. So I'm going to choose the shell tool, which removes some section from the actual middle of the mug to create this kind of hollow cavity in the middle, like this. So I click that, and I'm going to choose the surface on the top there to hollow it out, and you can see we're talking about the wall thickness here. So I'm going to make this 3mm in terms of the wall thickness, and then click OK, and there we go. We've got a 3mm mug. Now you will notice on my mug, if I move forward a little bit, you can see I've placed some fillets on the top to kind of round off the top, and to make it a sort of a smoother surface, because obviously if you're drinking from a vessel like this, you want this to be, like, ergonomically speaking, you want it to be rounded off so it fits nicely with your mouth and things like this. Okay, but what we're not going to do is do this fillet at this moment, because what it's going to do is curve this surface. Now the reason I don't want to curve it just yet, and I'll do fillets generally at the end of a product, is because it's going to make it, when I'm trying to add the handle on in the next sort of stage, it's going to make it harder to find edges and things like this if I do the fillets now. So it's generally a good rule of thumb, I think, to apply fillets towards the end of a product to ensure that you have enough control points going forwards. So that's the end of the next stage. We've kind of revolved the product, and we've created a shell of a 3mm wall thickness, giving us our basic mug there.